Well, welcome everyone to another edition of From the Woods Today. I'm Renee Williams and I'm here with my co-host Billy Thomas, and we both work in the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources, and we have a great show today. We're welcoming back another guest that we've had in the spring.
Yeah, no doubt, Renee. I'm so excited to have Eric with us again. Eric, we got really great feedback on your spring wildflowers segment, so we're glad to have you back doing a fall segment with us.
I'm glad to be back. Thank you all for asking me to come back.
Yeah, no doubt. So, folks, you're going to really enjoy that. And then after Eric's video, we have Laurie Thomas on. Going to be talking about the tree of the week. And again, I will save that surprise for Laurie to unveil on you all. And then we have one of our own, Mr. Darren Morris, is going to be talking about goods from the woods. So, Renee, another great week, another good lineup. And we're so glad to have all of our Zoom folks with us, as well as our Facebook Live viewers. So, thank you all for being with us.
All right. And remember, if you are on Facebook Live, make sure to like us, and you can even share us and join and have a watch party if you'd like. But you can always get notifications from us that way.
All right. So I guess, Eric, I'm going to go ahead and play your video. Was there anything that you wanted to kind of say as a little preemptive before we shared it with the folks?
No, it's just I just want to say thanks again for having me. And as far as the video is concerned, these are some of the most common ones that you're going to see. A lot of things that we see right now are going to be that sunflower-like, and so you may see a lot of things that look very similar in the video. So we'll talk a little bit more about it afterwards.
Hey everybody, it's me, Eric Conley, Gary County 4-H Youth Development Agent. A few months ago, well, several months ago, I guess, in the springtime, I was asked to do a segment for From the Woods Today. And it was great. I had the chance to go out and do some exploration. I had been doing some videos otherwise. But they've asked me to come back and do a late summer fall edition. So I thought I would come out and kind of show off some of the plants that we don't really think about, especially since fall is one of those seasons that we generally think things are starting to die back, trees, the leaves are starting to change. And so I wanted to point out some of the flowers that are the most common that you may see either roadside or as you walk around a park or maybe in your backyard. So we'll be traveling around a little bit and taking a look at some different plants. And so I hope that you all see something that you recognize, something that that piques your interest. And once again, at the end of this segment, I will put my email address on there and also any other contact information for me. So if you would like to reach out, feel free. But let's go explore and see what kind of flowers we can find. So I'll start out with the orange one that you see behind me. This one is actually called orange jewelweed, or touch-me-not. Scientific name for this one is Impatiens capensis, and it's really just a beautiful flower. You can see that it has it is what is called bilaterally symmetrical, which means that it's going to be able to be split down the middle. It's going to have equal sides on two sides. And this one has another cool feature about it, which is called explosive dehiscence, when we're talking about the fruit of this particular plant. So it's really cool. So I'm gonna see if I can find one. So like this here, and this is another one that's great for insects. I've got bumblebees that are buzzing around here. There's one here, there's one back here that you can probably see. But getting back to explosive dehiscence, if you look at this right here, so I'm gonna pick this one out. So if I touch, the reason it's called touch me not is if you touch it, it kind of explodes in your hands. You can see if you look there, it kind of unravels a little bit. I actually have a little insect that's there. So it unravels and you can see the seeds that get spread out. So when it explodes, it actually explodes and sends those seeds all over the place. Really cool plant. So this is another one that's going to be really common to see. Roadsides, fields, all over the place. This is goldenrod, okay? Now, which goldenrod is it? Because as you all, I'm sure you're aware, goldenrod is actually our state flower, okay? Now, the problem is, though, is that in Kentucky, there are 35 different species of goldenrods. So, and some of them, and I'm actually doing a segment later on this video about one of them that is endemic to Kentucky and is only found here. But Goldenrod, like I said, 35 different. I think the one that's more recognized as our state flower is what is called Solidago canadensis. That's the scientific name for it. Solidago covers all of the goldenrods, and it's in the aster family. The fall and late summer is the aster season. 21,000 different species in that group, and so you can see this one's got all kinds of things buzzing around it, soldier beetles and everything else. So very common. Now the thing about goldenrod is that it has a bad reputation of being an allergen, and that's not at all true, okay? So most of the time when we get allergies, it's usually from things like ragweeds and things like that. So anyway, so this is one of our goldenrods, probably Solidago canadensis. This is actually probably the one that is our state flower, okay? So I wanted to make sure that I got this plant in, because this is one of those that blooms in the fall, has a blooming period all the way basically from September into the early part of November. This is an endemic to Kentucky. We only find it in Kentucky. So this is white-haired goldenrod, which is Solidago albopilosa. So Solidago, which we've gone through the genera or the genus. Solidago means whole, and ego means has actually to do with the medicinal properties of goldenrod. And then albopilosa, albo meaning white, pilosa meaning hairy or fur. So so if you look at this plant, you can see the white hairs that are running all the way up the stem. You also see the fencing behind. The reason that the fencing is here is, like I said, this is an endemic to this area of Kentucky. I'm actually in the Red River Gorge right now, and so this is the only place in the whole world you're going to find it. Not in this single spot. There's several spots throughout the gorge, but only in the Red River Gorge are you going to find this plant. It's really incredible and cool that we have something like this. And it only grows. So what I'm looking at right now is this is kind of a rock shelter area, and there's an overhanging cliff. It only grows behind the drip line, which is where the water would drip over the edge. It only grows behind that, which is really amazing. Just an absolutely gorgeous flower. I hope that you all can appreciate. You can see it growing through here. There's a lot of it that's actually behind here, but just a really beautiful plant. So anyway, this is, like I said, white-haired goldenrod. Goldenrod in and of itself, as a genera, has a lot of cool things about it. Thomas Edison was actually trying to develop a native rubber, and goldenrod was kind of the best one. The problem with it is it's so hard to extract, but he gave some of that goldenrod rubber to Henry Ford, obviously Ford company, and Henry Ford made a Model T for Thomas Edison that had rubber tires that were made out of goldenrod. So a lot of cool history that goes along with goldenrod, and another one of our late summer, early fall blooming flowers. Just a cool plant. So this purple one you see here, this is well, it's a beautiful flower. It's called ironweed, okay? And this may be tall ironweed, which is Vernonia gigantea. And this one is generally the bane of a lot of farmers' existence. So when out in the fields, this is one that they don't want to leave up, but it's absolutely a necessary plant for butterflies and a lot of other pollinators. So this is a good stop-off plant. Also another aster. So once again, season of the aster, late summer and early fall. So but anyway, beautiful purple flower on this one. So far we've seen orange, we've seen yellow, and we've seen purple. We've seen a lot of really good colors. Yellow will be the ones that dominate this season, but very cool plant. So this is Jerusalem artichoke. Scientific name is Helianthus tuberosus. And this is a extremely common wildflower, although I think at one point it was invasive, but I need to check my facts on that. But it can get really weedy on the side of the road. So this is one that you see pretty often. It gets very tall and obviously has that classic aster shape. Once again, another aster. Okay, I think we've seen all asters today except for the Impatiens capensis, which was the orange jewelweed. So the reason is the scientific name, Helianthus, if you break that down, Helios, which is sun, and anthos, which is flower, so sunflower. That's where we get our traditional sunflower name from. That's the genera of that one. And then tuberosus has to do with the flower, or the fruit, the tuber, sorry, that's underneath the ground right now. And it can be harvested and eaten. I understand that it has a nutty flavor and is usually good a couple of weeks after the flowers die back. So, and was an important source of food for people that lived pre-1600 and probably even after that. I'm sure that there are people that still harvest it. So another really cool flower. Obviously a lot of insect traffic on this one. I've seen a lot of butterflies and bees and things like that. So 'tis the season for pollinators to get out and really do some work. So this is great blue lobelia. It sounds almost like a Willy Wonka character to me, but scientific name for this one is Lobelia syphilitica. Lobelia, you know, obviously talking about the lobes, especially it's got this this bottom lip that has multiple lobes on it. But then I'm not going to get into the specifics of the species name. I'll let your parents explain that. But anyway, so this plant is pretty common, found in wet areas. It's also found, it's also a relative of another plant that we see around streams and creeks called cardinal flower, which is Lobelia cardinalis. Generally, most lobelias are toxic, so you want to try, you definitely don't want to ingest those. But anyway, so if you just have the chance to get out, I mean, the fall is a time where we start to kind of are settling in and figuring out some things, but I would encourage you to get out and take a hike. This is when, you know, the weather's going to be a lot better. It's going to be beautiful outside, and you can get out and you can see some of these things that are going to be more common. You're going to see a lot more insect activity as they start to transition into the cool season of the year. So I just, you know, I really appreciate everybody asking me to come back and do one of these. It's been so fun to get out and take a look around. I do an on the ground series where I get out and I generally take a look at one flower, but to get out and kind of squeeze some of these things into mass is really kind of cool. So I hope that you all get out, you get a chance to see everything that I've been able to see, or see even more. And you know, if you ever have any questions about something that you've seen, feel free to contact me at eric.comley, that's eric.comley @uky.edu. Or if you have or need more information about 4-H, feel free to contact me at the Garrett County 4-H Facebook page. But get out there and explore, and I hope you all enjoy. This has been Eric Conley, Garrett County 4-H agent from the woods today.
We greatly appreciate it. And I'm going to remind people, type things in the chat pod if you have any questions whatsoever, and we'll get those to you. So Eric, one question is, can you purchase wildflower seeds, and when do you plant them if you can purchase them, I guess?
Yeah, so you can purchase wildflower seeds. Ellen and I were talking earlier about the Kentucky Native Plant Society, and they have a fantastic list. It's a good Facebook group to join, simply because you can get a lot of information from them. But they do have a list that you can refer back to of different nurseries that specifically deal with wildflowers. As far as best time, it's really going to depend on the wildflower. As far as fall wildflowers are concerned, it's one of those things where it's hard to establish some of those fall wildflowers, and anything that you take out of its native habitat, if you try and put it in a garden, it's going to be difficult to establish. So make sure that you contact your extension office to get recommendations, soil tests, all those kinds of things, and they can give you some information that would help you specifically identify spring, summer, fall wildflowers, whatever you want to put in a garden situation.
Okay, and I think Ellen put that link there in the chat pod for anybody who may want to know about those.
Thank you, Ellen.
Yeah. So, Eric, I think it's so awesome. You're a 4-H agent, but you're also really a very strong naturalist and botanist, and you bring a lot of skills to that. So I really can't thank you enough for sharing your expertise and knowledge, and, you know, highlighting some of these beauties that are out there right now and will be coming in the next few weeks. So,
yeah,
really...
I really appreciate it, Billy. And as a matter of fact, over the next couple of days, I'm going to be looking for one. There's an orchid out there that I'm looking for. It's actually called fall coral root. It's Coral odontorosa, and it's only comes up kind of late in the season like this. And there's some other orchids that come up, but I'm on the hunt for that one right now. So that's my next mission right now.
All right.
So.
All right. So Renee, what do you think about if he can find that, we can pop him in for at least a few minutes down the road a little bit.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. Because, we had you on in the spring, right? And we have had people go, what about the fall? Can we get him back on the fall? So we were like, sure, let's see if we can. And here you are. So we greatly appreciate that.
Well, thank you all so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Eric. Really, really great work. And folks, for our viewers out there, this is just one more example of our county extension agents and some of the great work that they're doing. Kentucky's blessed to have county extension offices in all 120 counties, and we've just got a great group of professionals out there that are really working hard to try to help make their communities better, healthier, and more productive. So, Eric, what a great representative of our county agents out there across the state. So thank you again.
Yeah, and Eric, if you want to give your email address again, and what orchid you're looking for, someone out there that's watching may know what one is.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll type it in the chat box, and that way everybody has it. So, but thank you all so much. And that orchid, I'm really excited about. I've seen it in one location, but it's about 2 hours away. I'm hoping that I can find it a little bit closer than that. My wife also hopes that as well.
Yes, I can imagine. All right, so we'll look forward to seeing you again down the road, Eric. Thank you,
All right,
buddy.
thank you.
All right. So that was pretty cool, Renee, really,
Definitely. So moving on to our next segment, Lori Thomas is back with us again, and she's got a couple of segments to talk about. Just a little tidbit on one, and then we'll get to our tree of the week.
Yeah. And I would just wanted to say thanks again, Eric. I love the wildflowers and just how, another person even said that I loved how you get down and personal with the plants. It's awesome, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again, and thanks for all your help in forestry too. So we appreciate that greatly. But I did want to mention this year we've got, since things are a little different with COVID, and we can't do our normal or traditional 4-H forestry field days, which usually takes up September for us. We can't be out there in person, and we've been working on developing a virtual 4-H forestry field day, and it's still in the works. Hopefully it'll be done in the next week or so, but it's going to be a little different. We get to add a little bit more. If you're familiar with the traditional forestry field days, we get to do 3 different things. We'll do compass and pacing, tree measurement, and tree ID. And then the students are tested on that, the 4-Hers are. But this time, since we've got this ability to kind of do it virtually, we have put together 7 units, kind of like little short units of study. And we've incorporated some challenges with that. So, and the 4-Hers can do this at their own pace. It's not a one-day thing like we normally did. They can do this at their own pace. But the units that we've put together are what is forestry, the history of forestry, tree identification, of course, got to have that one in there, tree measurement, how to measure a tree, the basics of how to measure the diameter, which you all saw the video, I think, a week or 2 ago. Why trees are important and their ecosystem services. So talking a little bit about some of the more urban aspects of some trees that we don't get to do in our forestry field days. And then I'm looking at careers in forestry. We've got a really great activity for that. And so be checking emails in the next, like I said, week or so. Ashley Osborne and I have been putting this together. It'll all be housed at both the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources, youth page, and on 4-H as well. So be looking for that. And hopefully it will be challenging but interesting for our 4-Hers out there. So.
I know some of those topics adults might want to take.
I was going to say, yeah. Can adults play too, Laurie?
Can adults play?
Yeah, adults can play too. So, and I wanted to mention we do have some challenges. The 4-Hers will have to identify 5 different trees correctly, and then we're going to figure out a way of uploading this information to us. They have to measure 3 different trees, and they're going to have to adopt a tree. So these are already existing things that we do, so they get to participate in those as well.
Awesome. Well, so you're not only telling us about the 4-H virtual forestry field days, you also got the tree of the week.
We do. This week is pawpaw is the tree I chose to do, something not timber at all. And it's one of my favorites. It was always one of those that you were excited when you saw it in dendrology because you could ID it really easily. And it's a neat little large shrub to tree. So here we go, pawpaw.
I'm Laurie Thomas with the University of Kentucky Forestry and Natural Resources Extension, and I'm here with the tree of the week, the pawpaw. Pawpaw, Asimina triloba, is a small deciduous tree or large shrub. It's in the custard apple or the Ananaceae family, and the genus Asimina is the only member not combined to the tropics. Other names include false banana, custard apple, poor man's banana, and Hoosier banana, just to name a few. It typically grows from 20 to 40 feet tall and exhibits clonal growth, often forming thickets or small colonies. It is planted for fruit production. In fact, there are 45 different cultivars of pawpaw that have been selected for their fruit. The fruit is also an important wildlife food. Pawpaw is native to the eastern to midwestern United States, from New York to Florida and west to Texas. It's usually found on the lower slopes and ravines along streams and floodplains. It grows best in deep, rich, moist soil. It's classified as shade tolerant in the forested setting. It can also grow well in full sun, but growth can be more dense than in the shade. Pawpaw is deciduous with alternately arranged leaves, as you can see in the photo. The leaves are simple in form, meaning one blade per leaf. They're oblong to obovate in shape and typically between 5 to 12 inches long. The leaves have entire or smooth leaf margins, and they're green above and green below. They seem to droop from the branches, giving the tree a wilted look. The leaves give off a distinctive green pepper odor when crushed. In the fall, color is yellow and sometimes very showy. Pawpaw has a distinctive terminal bud. That's the bud at the very tip of the branch. It's kind of a purplish brown color, and it's fuzzy. It looks like it's furry, flattened and often curved, about 1/4 to half an inch long. It kind of reminds you of the antenna of a moth. Pawpaw is monoecious, meaning trees have both male and female flowers. The flowers are purplish brown with kind of a broad bell shape. Each flower has 6 petals. The flowers have a less than pleasant perfume, and they bloom slightly before the leaves emerge, and the flowers are pollinated by flies and sap beetles. The fruit is a unique-looking berry that resembles a short, fat banana. This edible fleshy fruit is typically 2.5 to 4 inches long and green. As the fruit ripens in the fall between August and October, it turns yellowish to brown. The ripe fruit has a yellowish to orange pulp that resembles custard and tastes much like a mix of banana, mango, and pineapple. The fruit contains several seeds that are dispersed by gravity or wildlife. Pawpaw fruit is eaten by a variety of birds and mammals, including raccoons, gray fox, possum, squirrel, and black bear. Beavers consume the bark, and white-tailed deer often browse pawpaw. It also attracts the beautiful zebra swallowtail butterfly, whose larvae feed on the leaves, giving added incentive for wildlife lovers to obtain this tree. The bark is smooth and gray to light brown with wart-like lenticels. The wood is light, soft, coarse-grained, and weak, and it's not of economic importance. The fruit, on the other hand, is valued for human consumption. Pawpaw is planted for fruit production, and there are at least 45 cultivars that have been selected based on their fruit. It is an excellent source of vitamins A and C and high in unsaturated fat, proteins, and carbohydrates. The fruits can be eaten raw, cooked in puddings or breads, or used to make ice cream, just to name a few. Kentucky State University has the only full-time pawpaw research program in the world as part of the KSU Land Grant Program. Pawpaw research efforts are directed at improving propagation methods, developing orchard management recommendations, conducting regional variety trials, understanding fruit ripening and storage techniques, and germplasm collection and characterization of genetic diversity. Since 1994, KSU has served as the USDA National Clonal Germplasm Repository, or gene bank, for Asimina species. There are over 2,000 accessions or trees from 17 states that are planted on 12 acres at the KSU farm. The national champion pawpaw is located in Montgomery, Maryland. It is 37 inches in circumference, 59 feet tall, with a 34-foot crown spread. The Kentucky champion pawpaw is in Madison County. It's 44 inches in circumference, 42 feet tall, with a 20-foot crown spread. If you'd like to know more about champion trees, check out the American Forest Champion Tree National Register or check out the Kentucky Division of Forestry Champion Trees. Now for a few fun facts about pawpaw. The first reference to pawpaw came in writings of Hernando de Soto's expedition to the Mississippi Valley in 1541. The fruit was used to feed de Soto's conquistadors. The fruit was a favorite of Native Americans, and several groups cultivated the tree for the fruit. The fruit was eaten cooked or dried. The inner bark was used to weave a fiber cloth, and the Cherokee made cordage by twisting the inner bark into rope and strong string. Early settlers used the fruit to make jellies. The scientific species name triloba refers to the flower's three-lobed calyces and the doubly three-lobed corollas. Thanks for joining me, and I hope you get the opportunity to get out into your woodland, local park, or neighborhood and enjoy the wonderful pawpaw.
I remember growing up as a kid that my grandfather would used to try to find pawpaws everywhere, and he loved them, and they would even freeze them, which I didn't know that you could do that until he started it. So.
Yep. If you ever get the opportunity when we're out and about and getting together again, Kentucky State University usually has different field days, and they always roll out their pawpaw ice cream, which I got to admit, I will eat that. I'm not a fan of pawpaw. I don't like the way it tastes, the fruit itself, but I do like pawpaw ice cream. So, but if you do get an opportunity, check out Kentucky State University and some of their pawpaw work that's going on out there too. So, yeah, I noticed that somebody said the leaves smell fantastic. They have a green pepper smell. That was one of the things you learned early on in dendrology. You crumple up the leaf. There's a few that are very aromatic, few species. Sassafras is another one, a spice bush. But yeah, this one with pawpaw, it has that it smells like green pepper when you crush the leaf.
There was another question too about if you should plant two of them if you're going to plant pawpaws.
Yeah, and it helps with pollination. Yeah, so because if you've only got one, it's monoecious. It's got both male and female flowers, and not necessarily good for self-pollination. So yeah, if you want to produce fruit, you'll want more than one. So.
You know, Laurie, along those lines, if you are really mainly interested in fruit production, I would encourage you to look at some of the cultivars and things that have been developed
Absolutely.
at KSU, because they've been kind of bred, for the different characteristics. So if you're thinking about planting pawpaws, certainly make sure you check out the Kentucky State University information.
Right. Yeah, because they list, they have lots of publications, and they talk about all the different cultivars, and they have been selected based on fruit size, fruit weight, and their durability. So yeah, check out theirs. If you're interested in it just as a landscape plant, it is an attractive addition. It kind of gives it your landscape a tropic flair. Just remember, it does produce thickets. It's very good at vigorously root sprouting. So if you don't want it to spread all over the place, you'll need to keep it in check too. So.
Yeah.
And where can you get seedlings for this? I mean, does KDF have that? I've never paid attention to their order form for pawpaws.
I don't believe the Division of Forestry, Kentucky Division of Forestry, carries pawpaw. That may be something you'd want to check. We talked about the Native Plant Society. They list a bunch of different nurseries to check and seed sources to check with them. I think Eric popped on. He knows it's a source.
So KDF does actually have pawpaws. Some years they are and their seed sources all came from KSU. We'd go out at the end of the year and pick up, and they've established some of their own pawpaw orchards on their nursery sites. It can be a little bit finicky as far as getting good. It's got a real short window as far as germination and stuff. So some years they may have quite a few available, several thousand. Some years they may only have 1,500, 2,000, but they normally always have some pawpaws available. And it's just one of those that you got to order when they first come available, because they are a high demand species. And anyhow, there you go.
Hey, and I believe that the Division of Forestry's seedling order form up yet.
It is.
I have not checked it out as far as this year, but the years that I was involved and we always had at least several thousand pawpaws, but they went quick.
Excellent. So there you go. You can get it through the Division of Forestry, but as Eric said, you might want to check their seedling order form and order early. So.
Hey, Renee, it certainly helps to have somebody that oversaw the state nurseries here in Kentucky.
Doesn't it though?
Thanks, Eric.
We appreciate you being on our team now, Eric.
Laurie, thank you again. It's really cool to, highlight these different trees that we have here in Kentucky. And yeah, the whole series that you've been working on is really a great resource. So thank you so much.
Well, as I say every week, I really enjoy doing this. So thanks.
Good deal. All right. So we're still talking about woods though, right, Renee?
Right. But this time it's goods from our woods, and kind of what is the stuff that comes out of it? What do we make, and how do we do that? So Darren Morris is on with us. There he is. And he had a presentation for us on goods from woods. Darren, can you tell us a little bit about it before we show the presentation?
Yeah, well, the idea was to discuss some of the quickly fluctuating markets that go along with the popularity of some of these goods from the woods. Sometimes, there are a lot of interesting things that we do get out of our woods that sometimes people may not think about. But there's some pretty basic things that come out of our woods: flooring, furniture, and all of a sudden, if decorating trends change, then that could change from one species to another for a period of time. In a local sub-regional area, of the United States, and it could basically cause the market to change, which is a good thing for a lot of people who have those trees in their forest and the logging industry. So they have to be on top of it and ready to haul this wood in. And some of these cases I've highlighted in this video. Hello, my name is Darren Morris. I'm a forester for the University of Kentucky Forestry and Natural Resources Extension. Today I'm going to talk about goods from the woods and how they can affect forest management. You see there's a rocking chair. Hopefully that rocking chair is made with wood that can support the weight of someone sitting in it, obviously. The wood also has to be able to be turnable in a lathe, so that's a wood grain issue. There's a cabinet in the background. It's light colored wood, as is the shelf. There's a dark colored desk and a picnic table, which hopefully the bench on the picnic table is made from something like ash or hickory and not sycamore or sweet gum, right? Persimmon is used to make golf club heads. It's a very dense wood. The wood grain in persimmon allows this rounded shape of the golf club head. It holds up well to what a golf club needs to do. Maple is used for bowling alley lanes. If you can see, that's a bowling alley. Hard maple is very dense, very hard. The northeastern United States grows very dense maple, which they use to make bowling alley. Of course, the baseball bat, that's white ash. They've also tried making baseball bats out of hickory, sugar maple, but what happens when the bat breaks, it splinters. It can splinter really badly, and it throws very sharp splinters, possibly towards the pitcher. It could be dangerous. Ash tends to make the best baseball bats, as we know. White oak, used for bourbon barrels. White oak has certain chemical properties that, when charred, create the flavors and colors that we find in bourbon. White oak also has closed pores, which make it ideal for the bourbon, wine, and spirits industries. Hickory, used for axe handles. We know why. It's very tough, it's durable, it doesn't break easily. Gun stocks, commonly made out of walnut. Walnut's used for a lot of things. Walnut's a very crafty wood, and for that reason, walnut's very high priced. Walnut, people look to stain other woods the color of walnut just because of that look, that appearance that it gives. So basically, we know the features of wood. We know the properties of wood that we like to see. White oak, red oak, ash, hardwood, very durable, not brittle. Cherry has that reddish colored grain. Yellow poplar, maple, ash are fairly light grains. Walnut is dark. Some have more of a grain pattern than others. We know these things, and we're able to use this information with the products that we make. That makes wood high value, some more than others. We know that red oak, white oak, black walnut, and black cherry have withstood the test of time. They stay pretty much on top of the market. They're always in demand. We know what they're commonly used for, and we know why we want to use them and why they are desirable. There are other species that are considered medium value and lower, less desirable. Many of these are used for railroad ties and rough cut lumber. Red maple and hickory just don't bring the same high value as oaks. However, that wasn't always the case. Early to mid 1900s, around 1930, red maple became more valuable than red oak and white oak in some parts of the country. For whatever reason, there were many different factors involved. Red maple was actually, for a period of time, worth more than red oak and white oak. A lot of reasons, as I said. The forests most of the virgin forests had largely been cut, especially the ones that were the easiest to get to. The 1890s logging industry boom in the Northeast and Great Lakes was coming to an end. Most of the central United States had been harvested. By the 1930s. The United States was exporting basically about 25% of the amount of lumber volume that we had been exporting 10 years prior to that. And then also American chestnut all of a sudden was gone. The chestnut blight hit. There's largely no more chestnut left. American chestnut was, had certain characteristics. Perhaps maple replaced some of those. Nonetheless, it didn't last long. It did hit people by surprise, and probably at a good time with the logging industry slowing down. For those reasons, red maple became valuable. Later on, 1995 to 2000, sugar maple all of a sudden demands a higher price at the sawmill than oak does. So that was a big one. How does this happen? Sugar maple in the 1970s was basically hard to get out of the woods. It was low priced at the sawmill. There was not much incentive for the landowners to sell it, for the loggers to take it to the mill. It was hard to cut. Sugar maple is very shade tolerant, which means that its leaves and branches, they don't get shaded out and die. So sugar maple often has a big crown. So why all of a sudden was there such a jump in demand and value? Around that time, lighter colored wood became popular. Maybe it became a trend to use light colored woods for cabinets, furniture, flooring. But several months prior to that, that jump in value and demand, magazines were indeed showcasing these light colored maple living rooms and kitchens. Another species where this occurred was hickory, around the same time as sugar maple. It, all of a sudden, like sugar maple, became as valuable as red oak when delivered to the sawmill. It was mostly shagbark hickory and shellbark hickories that were in demand, and really it was that lighter colored sapwood that hickory is known for. So some takeaways from today: the timber industry doesn't decide which species are more valuable. You do, we do. The consumers make that decision. We make that happen by how we use it, why we use it, and how much is available. If every timber species in our forest had value, it would be much easier to do good forest management. And we're in a pretty good situation right now. We're able to move all of the timber when doing forest management work. That's a good thing. That helps us to do complete management work, to reset the forest the way we need to, so that the regeneration in the forest provides good, healthy future forests. And the number one key is when foresters are out there working with landowners, when loggers are out there doing their jobs, logging this forest, that we basically do it in such a way that maintains healthy and, most important, diverse forests. We don't know what's going to be valuable 30 and 50 years from now. We have a good idea because we know the ones that have the good track record. But there could be something else that surprises us and joins a high value species, at least for a period of time. So that concludes Goods from the Woods, and I'm happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
We appreciate that presentation, and it sounds like that a lot of the goods are determined by the wood characteristics. Is that correct? That's just kind of what it sounded like you were getting at.
They are, yeah. It's not all woods will take to rounding off the edge. The wood grain, however it's structured, could cause a problem with that. Wood grains are made in different types of way. We categorize them differently and sort of separate them out. That has a lot to do with how features are made up and, the woodworking aspect of it. How easily is it milled? And then there's also, a brittle effect. It's sometimes you literally can't make the rungs out of a ladder with green ash. It needs to be white ash or hickory or something else.
Mm-hmm. I was really interested in your presentation too, to find out that, we kind of drive what's going on out there. I don't think I've ever really thought of it as, we're the ones that are determining what's needed out there as far as wood grains and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that threw a lot of foresters off. That the industry, kind of like I mentioned with the sugar maple, they were what? And in the 1970s, foresters were working with landowners to get cost share money to basically inject sugar maple trees and get rid of them so that you could grow something more valuable. Now we still do that as far as establishing good regeneration that we want. But I'm talking, 12, 14 inch diameter trees that they knew they couldn't grow because they couldn't sell them. Well, it turns out they could. And, the market changed, and all of a sudden, people were calling in to the forestry office wondering where there were forests that had sugar maple that maybe we had harvested in the past year, 2 years, 3 years that was left behind. And a lot of those tracts were harvested a second time within just a short period.
Wow. Yeah. Renee, I'm sorry. I was going to say what you were saying there about how the market dictates it is so important. It really is, and I really appreciate that. The other thing I was going to say is that if you look historically, at the pricing of timber and lumber over time, it fluctuates, right? As things come out of favor. And Darren, you just did a great job of kind of laying that all out. So thank you so much. And, you also talk about the importance of markets and forest management. Really some great topics that you covered there. Really appreciate that. Sorry, Renee, go ahead.
No, it's fine. Billy, as far, you working with woodland owners, Darren brought up a great topic, is that it's good to have a diverse forest and not just planning for one thing. Like if someone was just planting ash, several years ago, look what's happened, so that kind of brings that point home, that you shouldn't just have just one species in your forest.
Yeah, diversity is a good thing, and the more diverse our forests are, the more resilient they are to different stressors or things that come down the pike. So yeah, just a really great point. Nice job, Darren. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Darren.
Yep.
All right. Wow, Renee, Another
Another
great show.
show.
I'm telling you, it's awesome. And folks, I can't thank you all enough for being with us each week. And whether you're joining us on Facebook Live or from Zoom, we're really glad to have you all with us and being part of this adventure as we learn about the woods here in Kentucky.
Yeah, and just remember, all of these shows are recorded. So if you missed anything, or you're like me, you're like, what did they say? I can't remember. You can always go to fromthewoodstoday.com, and we have them posted there probably within a week. So you should be able to see all of them there. And we do have a YouTube channel too. You can subscribe to that. Just look for UK Forestry Extension, and you can subscribe to that channel. And whenever things are posted, it should let you know.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you could probably get all your entertainment value just through our videos out there.
Oh, I know, right? We have a ton on there.
Yeah, it's really kind of loading up. So a big thanks to all the folks that contribute on a weekly basis to this show. And yeah, it's just a lot of fun to do, Renee.
Yeah. Well, we greatly appreciate all of you joining us, and make sure to check back with us next week at 11 o'clock from thewoodstoday.com. You can click a watch live button there, or you can go to Facebook Live, and go to UK Forestry Extension and find us there. So until then, we'll see you soon.